Other couples are passionately intimate with each other at home every day. My girlfriend, on the other hand, is always giving me the cold shoulder. Not only that, she keeps reminding me that her first time was with me, so I'm supposed to always follow her, always listen to her, or else I'm betraying her feelings for me. But then, after another Cold War, I didn't apologize. My friends advised me she just likes to have little spats with you. She says one thing but means another. Just go and comfort her, but I'm tired. I don't want to bow down anymore. All these years of constant moral blackmail, breakup threats, and comments about how women can have kids, I'm sick of hearing it. So, when she threatened me with a breakup again, I said, then let's break up. Chapter 1. Upon hearing what I said, Willow clearly froze for a moment, but I didn't look at her. Calmly scrolling through my phone, my voice continued. I'll take all my things and move out as soon as possible. The stuff we bought together, I'll leave it for you. As for what you want to move or keep, that's your business. I won't even take the deposit back. In the quiet room, only my voice echoed. Willow's expression gradually shifted from one of resentment to an icy coldness. She suddenly interrupted me. And what about Big Orange? How are we splitting that? Big Orange was the stray cat Willow had found at the entrance of the neighborhood. It was originally her idea to adopt the cat, but it ended up being me who took care of it and paid for all its expenses. However, it was never affectionate toward me. 8 out of 10 times, it would snarl at me from a distance. A few times, it even scratched my wrist. But Willow, she would just pet it a couple of times, and it would immediately go to her, meowing and rubbing against her in affection. I said, leave it with you, I guess. I exhaled deeply, even if I liked it. This kind of unequal treatment was disappointing. She yelled. George. Willow restrained her emotions, speaking slowly and deliberately. You're the one who missed Valentine's Day, and yet you're taking it out on me. I was speechless. Wasn't it Willow who brought up the breakup first? Maybe she forgot. After all, she often threatened to break up. Since it worked on me, it became her go-to tactic. I sighed and said, I told you, it was because my flight was delayed. That's why I came back late. Willow snorted coldly. She said, excuses. Then why couldn't you book an earlier flight? During this business trip, I had been working non-stop for over 10 hours, compressing all my tasks, just so I could catch the flight back that same day. But Willow wouldn't listen. She would find 100 more reasons to blame me. So, I stayed silent, feeling a deep sense of helplessness within me. Willow walked a few steps toward the door, then turned back, her tone cold. She said, I won't come back until you realize your mistake. I replied, we've already broken up. But Willow didn't seem to hear me. She tilted her head and kept going on her own. She said, I'll give you another chance, but I'm not angry just because you were late. This was the first time she had said that. Normally, she would just slam the door and leave, though her tone remained condescending. She added, think it through and then come apologize. I sat on the couch for a long time. Finally, dragging my tired body, I began tidying up the living room. I even retrieved the gift from the trash can. It was something I had specially chosen after visiting over 10 stores while I was abroad, but the gift's owner never even looked at it, let alone cherished it. So it ended up, like the mess on the floor, worthless. After cleaning up the living room, I went to the bedroom to pack. This was the apartment we rented together. And everywhere in the house, there were traces of our life together. The cups we picked out, the blankets, the couple's dishes. I only packed a few clothes and then walked out with my suitcase. Just as I reached the door, a yellow figure suddenly darted out. It seemed to be blocking me. Big Orange lay in the middle of the living room and refused to move, its round, shiny eyes fixed on me. When Willow had first found it, it was dirty and emaciated, looking malnourished, but now, its fur was thick and glossy, making it look quite adorable. I crouched down, and this time, Big Orange behaved unusually. It didn't shy away from my touch. I stroked its head. I'm leaving, but she will take care of you from now on. Big Orange should like this outcome, right? After all, it always preferred Willow. While I was more of a stranger to it, I pried its claws off my pant leg, ignoring its frantic meowing, and left with my suitcase. Chapter 2. As I reached the entrance of the neighborhood, I received a phone call. It was Willow's best friend calling, her tone accusatory. George, how could you fight with Willow again? She's so angry now, ran off to the bar to drink, and no one can stop her. You need to get over here and calm her down. She's about to wreck my shop. I felt a bit powerless. I said, I don't know why she's angry. The moment she came home today, she suddenly started throwing a tantrum, smashing things around. There was a pause on the other end, her tone surprised. You don't know. She saw you having dinner with another woman, and you even sent her back to her hotel. Willow's jealous, I explained. She's a client. We were just having a meal for work, and I gave her a ride because it was raining and she couldn't get a cab. So, that was the real reason Willow was angry. Willow had always been this way. She would get upset if I spoke too much with other women. I knew it was because she loved me, which made her so easily jealous. But now, I only felt exhausted. I said, I can explain everything. I just don't understand. I spoke softly into the phone. Why does she always talk to you all about everything but never ask me? Why does she make me guess her feelings? I once asked a friend what he would do when he argued with his girlfriend. He thought for a moment and said, it depends on who's right or wrong. After both of you cool down, just talk things through. But Willow wasn't like that. She refused to reason with me, refused to communicate. She always kept everything bottled up inside. I never knew why she was angry. Every time, I had to guess or ask her friends. I couldn't understand why she wouldn't open up to me. I couldn't understand why she would rather talk to her friends than come to me for clarity. Later, I learned a term, twisted. Willow was the most twisted and complicated woman I had ever met. Her personality was sensitive and volatile. She always chose to avoid and retreat, testing me with cold words. One of my friends once told me, a girl like that isn't suitable for a relationship. You'd have to always chase and appease her. I didn't believe it, rushing forward with all my passion. But now, I was confused. If in a relationship, only one person is always initiating, can it really last? I moved back to my own place, but in life, we still had to see each other at work. We worked at the same research institute, but in different departments. During a work handover, I saw a young man greet Willow. His name was Makoto. He was a new colleague, just joined this year. When Willow saw me, her eyes immediately brightened, but I didn't look at her, calmly continuing the work handover. And just like that, Willow's hopeful gaze quickly turned cold. She kept her eyes straight ahead, brushing past me without a word. I overheard Makoto ask a colleague, why does Miss Lu have such a long scar on her arm? Someone explained, you wouldn't know, but Willow and George are a couple. They're known as the perfect couple. That scar is from the time of the earthquake when George broke his leg. Willow stayed by his side, not leaving for a second, and got injured while taking care of him. I heard she couldn't pursue her dream of being a doctor because of it, so she switched her major and came to our institute. Makoto sighed. A man could have no regrets with such a wonderful wife. I only felt speechless. The crowd around us started gossiping about how Willow had given up her dream to apply for the research institute with me. Everyone thought Willow was deeply devoted to me, and some even expressed their envy toward me. These few days of Cold War became just another way for us to show off our affection. One person said, I bet George will be the first one to apologize this time. A younger girl chimed in. Last time, it was milk tea. This time, I want small cakes. Another person countered. I don't agree. That's cheating. It's always George who apologizes first. If you want Willow to apologize, then I'll bet with you. I stood in the corner, silently listening to their banter. But this time, they were all wrong. The next second, I walked over and said, Willow and I have already broken up. Please don't bring it up again. My appearance ended the conversation. Everyone froze for a moment and then scattered. The truth was, our relationship was far from as perfect as it seemed. Endless cold wars and arguments. Our love had long been filled with wounds, fragile and on the verge of collapse. I really wanted to know, after I stopped trying to mend things. Willow, would you try to salvage it? This time, would you be the one to apologize first? Chapter 3. For a whole month, Willow and I were like strangers. It felt like a competition. Neither of us was willing to back down. Meanwhile, Makoto and Willow's relationship grew closer. They had meals together, went home together after work, and even during the weekend team-building trip, Willow chose to team up with him for the hike. It was actually Makoto who seemed a bit hesitant. He said, Willow, isn't this a bit much? What about George? Willow responded coldly. Didn't we break up? What right does he have to control me? Her voice wasn't lowered, so everyone around could hear. She snorted and continued. And he's always out with other women, probably doing the same thing with them on the hike. Immediately, the way people looked at me changed. Some whispered, George has such a good girlfriend, yet he doesn't cherish her and goes looking for other women. No wonder Willow broke up with him. When they saw me approaching, the gossipers quickly dispersed. During the hike, as Makoto helped Willow up a rock ledge, he lost his balance, and both of them fell, injuring themselves to varying degrees. Makoto stood up, looking guilty. It's all my fault. I made you hurt your leg. Now we're last. Willow, however, spoke softly. No, it's my fault. I'm too clumsy, and I caused you to hurt your leg. I should apologize. We came here to relax. The ranking doesn't matter. I was speechless. I lagged behind them a little. Since there was an odd number of participants, everyone had already paired up. I didn't want to split anyone up, so I went solo. I slowly strolled, enjoying the scenery, only to witness such an unfortunate scene. The two people ahead seemed harmonious. I even overheard someone comment that Willow was really a gentle and kind girl. Willow was indeed gentle. She was kind and understanding to everyone, except me. I actually asked her once why she treated me differently, and her reason was always that she had warned me before we started dating that she had a bad temper. It was like a free pass to treat me however she wanted, as if she had the right to give me the cold shoulder simply because she had warned me beforehand. As for that so-called earthquake incident, it was even more ridiculous. It wasn't an earthquake, it was just a drill. Back in college, she was the class president, and during a drill, everyone rushed outside. Only she came to my side, and no matter how much I refused, she insisted on helping me get up. Even though I had a broken leg, her devotion to me became the talk of the whole school, and all the guys envied my luck. There was even a post that said, "What more could a man want with such a wife?" It sparked a gender divide, with some women jokingly lamenting about how unlucky men were to have such bad luck, while men retaliated, saying that a rare and good woman like her needed to be protected. But at the time, Willow was actually scolding me. She endlessly reprimanded me. "Why did you even come to class with a broken leg? You've made our class come last. George, you really mess things up more than you get anything done." Even though I kept telling her I had taken leave, I had a broken leg and didn't need to participate in the drill, she stubbornly insisted on pulling me up. I told her to go, but she refused and kept emotionally unloading on me. Finally, I got fed up and stood up, letting her help me walk, and only then did she stop. Later, her best friend told me that Willow's words didn't match her heart. She was just worried about me and wanted me to rest at home. She even went to learn how to make rib soup for me. She said, "She burned her hands with so many blisters trying to make that soup for you." My buddy also advised me, "She's just a bit of a drama queen, but she really likes you. A girl like her, who's both gentle and proud, you've got to pamper her more." But now, seeing Willow being so sweet and clingy with Makoto, I realized that she wasn't just bad-tempered. She was only bad-tempered with me. I could hear from others how much she liked me, but I had never felt it from her attitude. She was always unloading her emotions on me, throwing tantrums, giving me the cold shoulder. She would criticize me for being useless, for not giving her what she wanted. She'd cut up scarves people gave me, break the game consoles my colleagues lent me. I thought she was just jealous, just insecure, but after being pushed away over and over, after being refused communication again and again, I started to gaslight myself, and I kept being the one to initiate, apologizing, lowering my head. But enthusiasm also needs a response. In this relationship, I wasn't flawless. I too would feel tired and hurt, twisted, and not showing love looked so similar. I was so exhausted that I couldn't tell, and I didn't even want to figure out whether Willow was truly twisted or simply didn't love me anymore. Chapter 4. So, I stopped in my tracks and withdrew from the team building event. I texted my boss saying I wasn't feeling well. Once I got home, I packed up some of the clothes Willow had left at my place and called for a courier to send them to her. After everything was done, I sat on the couch, lost in thought. Then, I picked up my phone and sent Willow a text. It was just a few short words. "Let's break up." Last time, I still had some unrealistic hopes, hoping that she might understand her problems, be willing to talk things through with me, and apologize. But this time, it was real. I had truly broken up with her. The message never went through. I had forgotten. Willow had blocked me again. She always did that. Once we had a Cold War, she'd delete all my contact info. I frowned and decided to have her best friend pass the message along. I used to complain about Willow always making her friend the messenger. Now, I found myself needing it as well. While sending the message, I accidentally clicked into her best friend's moments. The latest post was a group photo with a seaside background. In the center of the photo were Willow and Makoto. Makoto was smiling happily, his arm around Willow's shoulder. Willow was smiling too, just a little, her lips slightly pressed together. The post was from a week ago, during the period when Willow and I were in a Cold War. I stared at it for a long time and then gave it a like. Willow had once told me that she preferred to travel alone, because every time we went on trips together, I made her unhappy. She'd complain about the photos I took, about how I couldn't understand what she wanted when she gave me just one look. So, we hadn't traveled together in a long time. Perhaps Willow wasn't tired of me taking photos, but was tired of me. So when other, wealthier, more promising men appeared, she would argue with me, and we would go into Cold War. Some people say that a woman's love is expressed by being cold to everyone except you. But Willow was the opposite. She always looked gentle and sweet toward Makoto. But with me, she'd act distant, as though I was untouchable. It seems I had been oblivious, unable to see that she had long since grown tired of me. Chapter 5. I decided to go out for a while. So I took some leave and booked a flight to Nanjing. The scenery there was beautiful, and there were so many delicious foods. While chatting with an old lady there, I asked her, "Don't you ever get tired of living here since you've been here since childhood?" The old lady smiled and said, "This is home. With the way my hometown has developed, I can only feel proud. How could I ever be tired of it?" She said she loved Nanjing, loved her hometown. It suddenly hit me. Maybe people can get tired of seeing the same scenery over and over. But when there's affection, you'll never get bored. I didn't expect that on the third day, I would get a call from Willow. I don't know when, but she had taken me off her blacklist. Her tone was still cold. Big Orange's cat food is finished. I don't know which kind to buy. I told her the brand and added, you can use the photo recognition feature on your phone to figure it out. No need to ask me. Willow avoided the question and only said, I threw the bag away. She then asked, what should I do if Big Orange broke the cat tree? I was speechless and replied, just buy a new one, she said. Big Orange went downstairs to play and got all dirty with mud. I said, take it to the pet shop to wash it. Willow asked many more questions, and I answered them all. Then, there was suddenly nothing left to say. I waited for a while, but she didn't continue, so I said, all right, I'm hanging up. You can look up cat care online. Please don't ask me again in the future. There was a long silence, and just before the call ended, Willow said, Big Orange misses you. Are you going to come back and see it? I didn't quite believe it. Because of my work, Willow and I often traveled for business. Every time Willow came back, Big Orange would already be waiting at the door. It would rush up happily and meow when it saw her. But for me, I had to actively seek it out. Big Orange would always look at me with disdain and run away. Only when I offered a cat treat would it grudgingly let me pet it. It never missed me before, so why would it now? I declined. No need. It's your cat. I'm not obligated to check on it. After hanging up, I let out a deep breath. I didn't understand why Willow called me. Was she really asking me questions? Or was she just bothered by Big Orange? Come to think of it, she was always quick to lose interest. Adopting a stray cat satisfied her desire to show kindness. But taking care of it might have been too much trouble for her. I tossed and turned until early morning. I picked up my phone and tried to send a text. I typed, if you find Big Orange a hassle, then give it back to me. I was hesitant, worried that if she found it too troublesome, she might just abandon Big Orange. It would be better for me to take it in. Even if Big Orange didn't like me, I'd still take responsibility and ensure it had a good life. It was already 3 a.m., and to my surprise, she replied almost instantly. She asked, do you want Big Orange? Even if you leave, you want to take it with you? Before I could respond, another message came in. She asked, what about me? But the message was retracted a second later. I thought I had misread it. A moment later, Willow sent another message. Tell me your address. I'll bring Big Orange to you. Chapter 6. In the coffee shop, Willow was holding Big Orange. She wore light makeup, but it couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes. I didn't expect her to show up so quickly. Judging by the time, she must have come straight back after receiving my text. As soon as Big Orange saw me, it struggled desperately. When I set it down, it immediately rushed to my feet and sat there. It rarely treated me the same way it treated Willow. It meowed and acted cute towards me, but this time, I just opened the cat carrier and pushed it inside. I didn't even touch it. There were 3 or 4 scratch marks on my arm from it. The marks wouldn't heal, and my displeasure was real. After taking Big Orange, I was about to leave, but Willow stopped me. She bit her lip and said, someone told me the person you met on your business trip was just a client. I didn't get the facts straight and took it out on you. And the post you liked, that was my best friend taking me to relax, and we just happened to run into Makoto, so we took a group photo together. I stopped and quietly listened to Willow. She might have thought that I broke up with her because of a misunderstanding about her relationship with Makoto, but the truth is, it wasn't because of that. Before Makoto even appeared, our relationship was already falling apart. Willow tried a few times, then finally shyly said, I'm sorry. It was my fault during the last argument. She said it, and her face turned bright red. She bit her lip, not daring to look at me, looking very pitiful. So, I asked her, Willow, is apologizing to me really so hard for you? Why was it so difficult for Willow to admit her mistakes? If apologizing made her feel wronged, if apologizing meant admitting defeat, then what was I doing all those times when I always apologized first and tried to make up? Was I just a simp? Willow's eyes turned red, her voice trembled as she said, I thought you knew I was just upset. After that day, I've been waiting to make up with you. I didn't really want to break up. I just wanted you to comfort me. Willow's voice cracked as she continued. Why is it that when you say we're breaking up, it's really over, without hesitation? 7 years of love, and you walk away so decisively, but you only want Big Orange and not me. I felt exhausted. I couldn't explain myself to Willow anymore. She thought I was just saying we should break up in the heat of the moment, because she herself did that. But when you've said something too many times, it becomes the truth. I said, I'm not breaking up with you because of anyone else. It's because of your personality. Always refusing to communicate. Always not listening. Always stirring up trouble. Always avoiding problems. Willow clenched her fists and accused me. In the end, these are all just excuses. It's because you don't love me enough. You want to give up on me, on our relationship. Willow repeated, one word at a time. Her eyes filled with tears. George, you don't love me enough. I was speechless. 7 years of chasing. 7 years of initiative. And in the end, I was blamed for not loving her enough. I asked Willow back, "What about you? Have you made even the slightest change for me because you love me?" I knew her twisted ways, her sensitivity, her insecurity, so I had always been careful in maintaining it. I never said we should break up, because I knew, once I said it, with Willow's pride, she would never back down, and then it would really be over. But she could do it without a second thought because she knew I would always relent. I had always tried to be the partner that couldn't be shaken off. But this kind of relationship was too exhausting. I took 100 steps toward Willow, but she couldn't even take one step back without feeling wronged. In the end, my love was worn out. With the accusation of not loving her enough, I was no longer willing to keep fighting for it. Two people, in the end, were both wounded. The person who loves you the most knows exactly what words will hurt you the most. So I fought back, looking at Willow, speaking each word slowly. I said, "Willow, no one can stand you. No one will love you. You don't deserve to be loved." Chapter 7. When the trip ended, I applied for a transfer within the company. I was moved to the Research Institute in Shanghai. The facilities there were more advanced, offering me the best opportunities for growth. As I was leaving, Makoto walked up to me, guilt written all over his face. "George, I'm really sorry. The last time I met Willow, it was purely by chance. She wasn't feeling well, so she went to the seaside with a friend to clear her head." I glanced at him briefly, then continued packing. I said, "Man, there's really no need for you to apologize. Willow should be the one apologizing to you." Makoto didn't understand Willow, but I did. Willow had a kind of emotional cleanliness about her, so I never doubted her loyalty. I knew that her closeness to Makoto was just a way to make me jealous, to push me to chase after her. This was a tactic only she could use on me. During our Cold Wars in the past, I also tried to make her jealous. I hoped it would make her stop being so unreasonable, to mature a bit and stop being so childish, but it didn't work. Willow threw all my things outside the door. She completely shut me out, even had her friends block me. It was then that I realized, all of that was pointless. She would never change. When I took a step back, she would take 100 steps back. Our relationship could only be sustained if one of us held on tightly, refusing to let go, and that person had always been me. After arriving in Shanghai, I made some new friends. During holidays, we'd go hiking or skiing together. I honestly couldn't remember the last time I'd felt this carefree. I used to be outgoing and confident. I was always actively involved in school events. But later, Willow hid my passport and ID. She frowned at me, saying, "George, can you stop running around like a monkey? Could you show some responsibility as a man? You're not a kid anymore. Why are you still obsessed with meaningless things? Why don't you spend more time with me instead?" My friends advised me. "Don't you know her by now? She's just saying that, but deep down, she's worried about your safety. She's afraid something might happen to you. You know how dangerous extreme sports can be. If something happens to you, what will she do? If she didn't love you, she wouldn't care." I was persuaded. I quit all the groups, gave up extreme sports, but now, here I was, skiing under the breeze, watching the sunset. My friends were shouting praises. "George, you're amazing. You've got professional level skills. You could become an athlete." We all huddled together, chatting and laughing noisily, even if there were a few unpleasant moments. After a meal, everyone was back to joking and bonding. No one hesitated to say what they wanted to do. I hadn't heard such compliments in ages, or felt this relaxed, and I found myself caught up in the same mood. I smiled, exhaling the frustration that had been building inside me. Chapter 8. I never thought I'd run into Willow again. She was standing alone by the entrance of the neighborhood. I'm not sure how long she had been standing there, but her face was pale from the cold. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up. She quickly walked toward me, then slowed down as she approached. When she saw the skis on my back, her expression darkened. She puffed up, visibly upset, and said, "I've told you so many times, don't go skiing. Do you know how many people become disabled every year because of accidents? Do you want to end up in a wheelchair, being taken care of like a useless person every day?" She continued, her voice rising in anger. "Why do you go off and do these reckless things when I'm not around to watch over you?" Before I could react, she grabbed my skis and, in a fit of anger, threw them violently to the ground. The skis cracked upon impact, and people around us started to look at us in surprise. Willow's outburst had clearly caught people's attention. A passerby came over, holding up his phone, and cautiously said, "Bro, are you being scammed? Do you need help? I've got everything on video for you." Something in the way he spoke must have triggered Willow, as she suddenly screamed hysterically, "What's it to you? Who do you think you are? Acting crazy like that? Get lost." She then rushed at me, raising her hand to slap me. I grabbed her wrist and pushed her away. I turned to the guy and shook my head apologetically. "Thank you, but I can handle this myself." I pulled out my phone and looked at Willow, speaking calmly. "I've already called the police." "Willow, it's you who's the one acting crazy. At the police station, we sat facing each other in silence, neither of us speaking. The officer, smiling, tried to mediate. "You two are just having a lover's quarrel. No need to call the police. Just go home and work it out." He then looked at me and said, "Come on, buddy. Just calm her down. Don't argue with your girlfriend over everything." I was speechless. I interrupted the officer. "First of all, whether or not we're a couple, no one has an obligation to calm anyone down. Being a woman doesn't change the nature of her actions. As the victim, I have the right to choose whether or not to argue. Also, we're not a couple, and this isn't a family issue. I'm reporting her as a regular citizen for damaging my property." I couldn't understand why these law enforcement officers were always trying to smooth things over. Why was every conflict and argument automatically categorized as domestic just because of a romantic relationship? Was a family above the law? And why did they assume that, because she was my girlfriend, I should just let things slide? If that were the case, what was the point of law in the first place? The officer's face turned awkward from my words. He dropped the joking tone and became more formal, following the procedures seriously. "Willow paid the fine and compensated me for my financial loss. She also wrote a letter of assurance. Before we left the station, she looked at the officer with a sincere, almost apologetic expression and said, 'I'm really sorry, officer. I promise I won't do this again.'" I watched her coldly. That was Willow. She wasn't incapable of apologizing. In front of strangers, she was always sweet and polite, but with me, lowering her head was always so difficult, so full of resentment. It seemed that the people closest to her were always the ones who got hurt the most. Chapter 9. I walked quickly ahead, but Willow didn't give up. She chased after me and asked, "George, can we talk?" I didn't stop and replied, "We can talk, but after this, don't ever show up in front of me again." "Okay." Willow paused for a moment, then agreed. We found a nearby cafe. I ordered an iced Americano. Willow, almost instinctively, seemed displeased and said, "Do you even know what season it is? I never drink iced Americano in the winter." I gave her a cold look, and Willow froze. I replied, "I ordered it for myself. Why does it concern you? If you want something, order it yourself." She bit her lip, not saying anything more. After sitting down, I got straight to the point. "So, what do you want to talk about?" Willow tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and tried to soften her expression. She said, "I've been thinking a lot after I got back. What you said was right. I've just never wanted to admit it. I've been too difficult, a little too headstrong, and unwilling to communicate with you. But I can change all of that." She looked at me carefully and added, "George, I'll try my best to change. Please don't break up with me, okay?" These words I had waited 7 years to hear. I finally heard Willow say them, but it was already too late. I said, "No." Willow's eyes filled with panic. She seemed to have thought of something, her eyes welling up with tears as she exposed her arm. The scar on her arm was proof of how she had given up her dreams for me. It was Willow's biggest card, her last resort. Whenever she showed it, wiping away tears, I would always be left speechless and soften. But this time, I didn't budge. After a long pause, I quietly said, "Willow, actually, without that scar, you wouldn't have been able to become a doctor, right?" I had only learned recently that Willow had a fear of blood. Whether or not she had that scar, she was never meant to become a doctor, but she had hidden it from me all this time, never letting me know. I sighed and said, "Do you know, carrying someone else's dreams is an exhausting thing." Because of me, Willow had stood on a moral high ground. Everyone expected me to tolerate and accommodate her, and I, out of guilt, had endured all her bad temper. Whenever I doubted our relationship, people would dig up this matter and blame me. They would say, "She sacrificed so much for you. Shouldn't you let her off the hook?" Over time, I began to unconsciously feel that I should endlessly tolerate her. Willow spoke urgently. "You know my family is bad. My parents don't love me. You're my first love, and I've never loved anyone before. I don't know how to love someone." I exhaled deeply and said, "You can learn. If you make mistakes, you can correct them. But you lied to me, deceived me, and made a fool of me." "Willow, do you think I'm stupid? Or do you think I have no dignity and can let you manipulate me however you like?" Willow quickly retorted, "No." She looked up at me, and I could almost see the tears welling up in her eyes. She said softly, "It's because I'm insecure." Insecurity made her sensitive, made her willful. Insecurity kept her from loving others. She had no sense of security. She constantly feared losing me, so she used guilt to keep me by her side. "But," I said, "that's just an excuse. Insecurity can be the reason for sensitivity, but it's no reason not to change. Why should your insecurity make you torment others? Why should the consequences of your insecurity be something others have to bear? You're selfish and cold. That's why you understand it, but still refuse to change." I returned Willow's words to her, word for word, and said, "Willow, it's because you didn't love me enough." Chapter 10. After that day, I never saw Willow again. It seemed like she kept her promise and really stayed away from me. I went on with my work as usual, participating in various competitions during my free time. During a marathon race, a blonde guy. Seeing that I was about to overtake him, maliciously tried to grab me. I didn't indulge him and immediately contacted the referee to disqualify him. To my surprise, he held a grudge and decided to teach me a lesson. As I was heading back, I suddenly heard the roar of an engine from behind. By the time I reacted, the motorcycle was almost upon me. But the next moment, a pair of hands swiftly shoved me aside. There was a grunt of pain, and Willow, who I hadn't seen in a long time, appeared. After pushing me away, she was hit, and her arm was fractured. She seemed to notice me looking at her. She turned her head away, her forehead beating with cold sweat from the pain. With a pitiful expression, she said, "Forgive me, please." In the hospital, the doctor was treating Willow while I stood off to the side. When everyone had left, I spoke. "I've already called the police. They'll contact you soon, and the medical fees and other damages will be compensated." I put down the fruit basket and prepared to leave. Willow called after me and asked, "What about you?" she said, her voice trembling. "I've gone this far for you. Don't you have anything else to say?" I paused, my tone turning cold. "So now you're trying to morally blackmail me again. What is this? Some kind of PUA trick? Willow, are you still not done with this?" Willow's face turned pale, and she urgently said, "George, that's not what I mean. I just want you to talk to me, that's all." I exhaled slowly, nodded, and said, "All right." But my relaxation seemed to hurt Willow. She looked at me for a long time, her voice filled with sorrow as she said, "George, is this how you see me now? Am I so worthless in your eyes?" I couldn't find the words to answer her, but my silence spoke volumes to Willow. Everything that happens leaves a mark. Willow had used manipulation and deceit to control me for years. On the surface, everything seemed fine, but from then on, everything she did, I started to suspect it was part of her manipulation. Once trust is shattered, it can never go back to what it was. When trust collapses, it's like spilled water, impossible to retrieve. Outside the hallway, there was the noise of arguing. But inside the room, everything was quiet, as if we were in two completely different worlds. Willow took a deep breath. She said, "George, I came here today just to say goodbye. I've always had a feeling that something's wrong with my personality, but I kept deceiving myself, unwilling to face it. Next month, I'll be transferred abroad. There, I'll see a psychologist, receive proper treatment, and work hard to fix those flaws." Her body trembled slightly, and tears kept flowing down her face. She tried to calm herself, but every attempt failed. She looked at me, her eyes full of hope. Like a child, stubborn in her desire, she said, "George, if I really change, if I'm no longer so willful, if I'm not so twisted, would you give me another chance?" It's hard to describe how I felt at that moment. I had once firmly believed that two people who liked each other would never drift apart. I once fantasized about a long-lasting future with Willow. There was no betrayal, no cheating, no interference from anyone. But in the end, we still broke up, because love can also be exhausted. On this very ordinary day, Willow asked me if I would give her another chance. I heard myself say, "No, let it go." Mutual effort is the hardest thing in the world. When I was pursuing Willow, she never looked back, and when she finally came to me, I had already gathered enough disappointment and decisively chose to leave. The love I had for her was real, but the lack of it was also real. So, I let go. It's over. Chapter 11. Outside the hospital, I ran into Willow's friends who had come to visit her. When they saw me, they all looked somewhat awkward. I nodded coldly, intending to leave, but I was stopped. One of her closest friends hesitated for a moment, then walked over and asked, "George, why did you delete all of our contact information?" I replied, "Willow and I broke up." The girl stubbornly said, "You broke up with her, but you can still be friends, right?" Other people chimed in, complaining, mixed with a hint of grievance. After a while, seeing that I didn't speak, they fell silent. I spoke up in a very indifferent tone. "Friends, what does that even mean? Why is it that every time we have an argument, you all come to me and urge me to apologize to her, telling me not to care about who's right or wrong, and just go and smooth things over with her?" The girl paused for a moment, then softly asked, "Isn't that to help you both reconcile? Shouldn't we be encouraging you to work things out? Besides, women are emotional. What's the point of worrying about right or wrong?" These were Willow's friends, and they were already biased. They all sided with Willow unconditionally. As for right or wrong, they didn't care at all. So, when they claimed to be my friends, I just found it laughable. I said, "From now on, there's no need to stay in touch. It's unnecessary." With that, I didn't want to waste any more time and turned to leave. The next time I heard anything about Willow was a year later. I was on a business trip to the US when I ran into her on the street. She was alone, staring blankly at a stray cat by the roadside. She asked, "George, how's Big Orange?" Ever since I took Big Orange away, it had inexplicably changed, becoming closer to me, no longer distant like before. The scars it had left on my arm had slowly faded away with time, and the skin had healed. I said, "It's doing fine, got a bit fatter. She nodded and said, "That's good." After a few more exchanged words, we fell silent again. I glanced at my watch and didn't want to waste more time. I said, "Miss Lu, I have something to do. I'll leave now." After a polite nod, I put on my coat and turned to leave. Willow stopped me. She pursed her lips, trying to force a smile. She asked, "George, what do you think of me now?" She even spun around, creating some distance for me to observe her. I thought for a moment and smiled. "You're doing well." The old Willow used to be distant and aloof. But just now, as she passed a stall, she naturally picked up a fallen orange. When someone bumped into her, she smiled sweetly and told them it was fine, no longer showing the same disdain as before. I hadn't expected that therapy really worked. Willow hesitated and said, "Then I've changed, Anne. I've been thinking about you." "Could you?" I interrupted her. "Then I wish Miss Lu all the best. May you meet better people." Willow lowered her eyes, disappointed, but I was already walking away toward the setting sun. The afterglow of the sunset spread over the earth. The warm light fell upon everyone. I no longer had to guess what Willow was thinking. She had changed, becoming more willing to express herself, no longer hesitating. She was willing to speak her mind clearly. But no one can stay in one place forever, waiting indefinitely. Willow will get better, but I will become even better. A dead tree sprouts new buds, and as the sun sets, tomorrow will bring a new bright day. It took me a long time to understand. The ability to express one's needs is a gift, a rare gift. I will pursue a better future, and I will have a better life.